Welcome to today's episode. We have a really exciting guest, Umut Eser. Umut is the co-founder and chief AI officer at Weave. So Weave is an AI platform to facilitate clinical trials between pharmaceutical companies and the FDA. And for those of you just joining the podcast, we at Strativa AI help businesses scale their revenue over 12 months using AI. So if you want to learn how to take your business to the next level, be sure to watch future episodes. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, drop DM in the messages and we'll follow up with you there. Umut, can you tell us more about yourself, what your role is at your company, and just what got you
Yep,
started in your
thank you.
field?
For reminding me. So, Mark, I am Chief AI Officer at Viva, as you said. My background, physics, did my PhD at Stanford in applied physics, systems biology, mostly machine learning to biology. Then postdoc at Harvard Medical School, working on biomedical data, but using, again, AI to actually analyze this data. And then afterwards, I've been around in startups, especially drug discovery development startups. I've worked at Celerity as a head of machine learning research. And then afterwards, I've been around in drug development discovery intersect with AI. So yeah, that's brief background about me. And I'm also a venture partner of a venture capital firm called Magnetic VC at the same time.
Oh, okay. And so is that VC company also in the similar space, or do you do VC
The VC,
other places
Magnetic
rather?
VC invests in biotech, healthcare, intersecting with the high technology, and I'm
Okay.
actually helping them out in terms of sourcing, evaluating the companies. And Magnetic VC is also our investor at Weave, so we have these relationships.
Fantastic. And so, yeah, can you share a little bit more detail about what you
Yeah, of
guys do at
course.
Weave?
Weave is a AI native platform, which is aiming to accelerate communication between pharma companies and the health authorities. So it's about drug information communication. And think about it, like when a pharma company, a drug developer has a drug candidate, they can't just go out and test in the clinical trials in humans. They need to get approval from health authorities. And how do they get the approval? Well, they have to prove that their drug is safe, efficacious, as well as they have good manufacturing practices that they can maintain the high quality of their manufacturing, right? So these proving this is enormous. Like you have to write lots and lots of documentation. And currently it's being manually written and it's being communicated through PDFs. It's tedious. It's takes months of work. Exactly. And
Sounds it.
patients are waiting, and every day when you're delaying your drug to the market, you're also losing a lot of money as a company, right? As a the drug company.
Oh,
So
that makes
what we
sense.
do
Yeah.
is actually use AI to like dramatically speed up that process at every stage of the drug development so that the patients get medicines much faster and companies make a lot of money from the opportunity as well as their operational costs.
Fantastic. And so are most of your clients then the pharma companies
So that's
themselves?
true. I mean, pharma, biotech, we call like biotech pharma. It's a mixture. There are small startups,
Yeah,
mid companies, but at the
sure.
same time, we also have CROs, which are like contract research organizations or clinical research organizations, which help these pharma biotech companies to process and like to progress in the clinical trial. But we also serve to these segments as well.
I see. I see. Fantastic. And so, yeah, how big is your company, say, either in terms of revenue or team size?
Not sure if I can disclose the revenue right now, but it's good. It's nice. We're at
Understood.
the exponential curve right now. I can say that. Team size is 25. We're expanding. We're basically
Nice.
hiring, actively looking for talents out there.
Very good. Fantastic. And it sounds like you're growing quite a bit. So, what would you say your goals are for growing your business in the next 12 months then?
We're basically a full platform. We still have some production expansion roadmap, so we can cover end to end. We're almost there. Next year, we're going to be full platform that covers all the way from preclinical to the post market regulatory communications for every for pharma. At the same time, we're growing our team to like doubling our size. Like employee numbers are going to be doubled and revenues are going to be like we're expecting
Wow.
the revenues are going to be tripled based on our booking and forecast right now.
Right. Right. Fantastic. What's the competition like in your space, specifically in utilizing AI and technologies, the similar
Yeah,
way to you?
I think we're in a great spot right now, like because when we entered the business, there was always
Yeah,
budgets for this type of work for pharma biotech. There's a pre-allocated budget for this work, right?
sure.
But at the same time, the
Yeah,
competition was completely manual and like legacy technologies, if they were right now. We were the
yeah,
first, and
yeah.
we are the now only like platform that has the product right now that basically sells for full platform capacity. But
That's
at the same
great.
time, there's also emerging competition, which is great because now there's a new type of solutions are emerging, which we are calling regulatory automation management platforms. Previously, there was a RIMS, like regulatory
Mm,
information management systems, which type of softwares, which basically manages the documents that you are sending. But now we're basically managing the knowledge, not just the document, but actual knowledge. And these are what we are calling regulatory automation management platforms.
And so, as you've been finding these AI solutions, right, and managing these platforms, what either cultural or organizational barriers have you
In
encountered?
terms of like sales or in terms of building the company.
In terms, well, either really. I was thinking most about
Mhm.
the building, but could certainly speak to
Yeah, I
sales
mean,
as well.
building, like this, the work that you're doing definitely requires domain knowledge. You can't just like hire random like software engineers and build the product without actually knowing the domain. So that's why, I mean,
Yeah,
exactly.
you
So
need the
our
know-how.
co-founders, including me, coming from drug development, drug discovery world, we understand the pain. We have a lot of friends who are experiencing the pain. And we know how actually approach this problem. And that's how we started. Then we hired only senior people at the beginning because can't afford to basically build something that cannot be delivered to the client in a like very robust, reliable manner because our industry requires a trust because we're targeting a high quality. So that was always at the beginning our goal. Like our chief product officer, who was now our CEO, he recently became CEO, Brandon Limes, is a product manager, and he basically set the bar for the product quality very high from the get-go. And actually that helped us a lot.
Hmm.
Now we have a very trusted clients, and we're basically the entire idea of actually we are only gonna demo from the product, from actual release product, right? We're not going to demo anything that we haven't released to anyone, right? And all these type of other, that became the culture.
Yeah.
Now we have basically like understanding and expectation of what can go into the product and what should be the quality level. So I think that was very important and early critical decision that we had, although it slowed us down a little bit, but I think that was very important. Now we're eating the fruits of it.
I think so too. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to have that human alongside all of that development, as AI is so robust and deep, and especially in your field, right? The whole idea of just that, like the data security, and as well the accuracy, and having that human that's alongside it every step of the way. So certainly the AI is making what sounds to be your
Yeah.
processes a lot quicker, and so people are able to get the results a lot faster. And then, so I'm sure you've got, it sounds like you have steps along the way where there's that human
Mhm.
component to oversee things. And then certainly at the end to
Yeah, let me
deliver it,
talk
right?
because that's a very important point. I actually missed that point, but uh, um, it's a great point. Like when AI came in, we were the like early adopters on that. Like when we came out 2.5 years ago,
Hmm.
it was very like, I mean, it's a very, very low quality when you compare to the current version of the AI. You can't
Right.
serve it low quality
Right. Yeah.
hallucinated content, especially in the regulatory domain. So that was the first pushback, right? They were
I
saying
bet.
like, well, what if it's basically making up like,
Yeah.
this is critical, like we're delivering drugs, medicines to human, and you can't really, we don't have any tolerance for it, right? So that's why we did a
Yeah.
very intentional design of how this product is going to evolve. So here's the thing: you can go either like think
Yeah.
about like
What did that look
automated
like?
cars, like the self-driving mode. So instead of
Sure.
direct going,
Right.
okay, let's automate everything. We basically started off. Let's build a platform that has a knob to basically can arrange for, you can go in the high 100% manual or 100% automation, but that knob is going to be set to a
Okay.
default where human interaction is going to fix whatever the LLMs miss. But over time, this lever, the level is going to increase, right? And you're going to get much and much more productive and faster, like production of the content. But that is actually the design.
Yeah.
By design, inserted this human in the loop, interactive. Instead of using AI as artificial intelligence, we use AI as augmented intelligence, which augments humans, experts. So we still need experts, right? We still need
I
experts. So
like it.
we want, but we don't
Yep.
want these PhD educated experts to spend their time on mundane, like scraping tables and putting and creating another tables, right? We want them to
Right.
strategize. We want them to actually
Right.
really
Right.
leverage their domain expert. That's where we're focusing on. And actually, um, our like first we had some questions at the beginning, but now they're getting it and they're loving it. So we're getting a lot of like nice testimonies from the expert users.
That's the I'm sorry, and are they the expert users, are you talking about in-house or associated
So
outside with the
we're
work
not
that you're doing?
providing any service, right? We're basically a software company, software as a service. So the clients are
Yeah.
customers who are in the pharma companies or a CRO who are the medical writer experts, right? They are using our platform to basically speed up their processes.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And have they had any misconceptions from the beginning or as they use it around how the AI is actually helping them?
There are a lot of questions, I would say, like instead of, which probably it includes some misconceptions, but we are aware of it.
Uh-huh.
We're basically open and we're constantly trying to educate the community as well, like what this is about, what's the hype, where the actual AI is. And we're very realistic on where we are at, right? Because there's a hype out there. And the
Yeah.
hype is always about like cherry picked examples, which are not basically working 100% of the time. But what we are trying to achieve is trying to basically explain out how these models are working, like basically teaching the prompt. You have to actually work this prompt in this way and that way so that you can get the output really, really like high quality, crisp and all these things. And we have these educational materials out there in blog posts or some other type of like webinars we're posting on our website.
Mm, fantastic. And so when you're getting these services out there and these businesses are using your platform, what sort of resources or support do you guys provide with it? And like where do you think there might be something that is uh, needed in addition to achieve that level of success that I'm sure you're probably like measuring yourselves internally against whatever your bars are.
So for some of the companies where they have like established pattern of like vendor imposition, we are working as a pilot, like we have a paid pilot with them. And that paid pilot, we sit down at the beginning and define the success criteria, objective success criteria, what it looks like, right? But by the end of the pilot, we basically see whether we are checking off or not, right? So that is defined. But at the same
Yeah.
time, we're holding hands all the way through in the pilot to showing exactly like how they're going to use. If our customer says that we cannot commit, we're not going to basically do it, we don't get into that pilot. We are the ones who are basically walking away from the table, which means that we're basically leaving some money on the table, right? But this is important because customer
Yeah.
success is very important for us. We have to get through, we need to get some commitment from the customer to learn these like new way of doing it. And at the end, like so far we've seen like people are loving it. They say, oh wow, this is not something we have been imagined. We thought like it's just going to be simple, like I think like a chat GPT interpreter, but it's not. It's basically a completely new way of working. It's the workflows are now much, much faster and
Wow.
they love it. So that's why it's very important for us to actually heavily communicate with our customers. That's why our expansion actually right now involves like hiring customer success team and commercial team. At the same time, they're basically
Hmm.
open. And what we get is like whenever we receive any, let's say, questions, issues, challenges of what they're doing, we have a very quick turnaround time. And that's another aspect that basically we got the testimonials for.
Yeah, 100%. Um, Couple things. So going back to the beginning when you mentioned that sometimes these would normally have taken months and months, would you say that now you're down to a matter of just weeks that this process would take
We
because of the
measured it.
AI?
We actually have some
Oh, you did.
deliberate studies, like research studies, which we're going to publish soon. It's coming with a large pharma firm together with it.
Great. Congrats.
So basically, the IND or let's say regulatory applications have multiple stages, and each of them have different timelines and timeframes. But we focused on one prototypical example, right? Where when you show it, you can basically
Okay.
believe that everywhere is going because we can't measure the entire like whole drug, the clinical trials, right? So
Of
what we
course.
measure, we focused on an preclinical aspect like non-clinical documents, and normally they write in hundreds hour, 100 hours or so, and in our platform it was 1.5 hours. So it's a like how many
Hmm.
fold increase? A lot of the folds increase, right? So when you think about the critical path as
Right.
well, like because you can also do a lot of things in parallel, we're squeezing down timelines by months now. I mean, that's clear for the longer term horizon. Our goal and
Yeah.
actually our
Yeah.
calculation shows that everything is included, not just like hands-on timing. Hands-on timing is like it's orders of magnitude, right? Hands-on timing. But including the hands-off
Sure.
timing, which means like well, once you write, you have to wait for the review, you have to wait for this and that. And including that, our calculation basically shows that we can shave off a year from the clinical trials. And a year shaving off
Wow.
is enormous. Actually, when you think about it, like median drug
Right.
sales is $400 million a year. This is median. I'm not talking about the
Yeah.
blockbusters. When you think about the daily, like this is $400 million a year saving if you actually get earlier. And also a lot
Wow.
of patients cannot
Wow.
wait for a year. So that's very, very important.
Yeah. 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 And I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're able to, through your services, address any stage of the
Yes,
trials,
it
whatever
doesn't matter.
stage they're in. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Okay. And then going back to when you were talking about the pilot and say maybe it doesn't work out, then your team takes that in and reviews it to see how you could better yourselves, right? And then say, but there's the handshake between you guys and a new customer. Then what does that relationship look like going forward? You talked about customer service. I think you said success managers or something like that, so that the human element stays in contact with your clients so that it's not just like, here's our product, here's the AI.
So
How do you
far,
support?
when we got into the piloting stage, we got all of them converted. I mean, to my knowledge, I don't remember any company that basically fell off during the pilot stage. But there are, of course, companies who fell off
Hmm,
like from previous stages because of various reasons. They say, okay, we need to wait a
sure.
little bit more to see like whether we can build internally for, especially for large pharma. Sometimes they say that. Um, and sometimes they say, okay, we're not going to wait for it. Like
Oh, yeah.
we we're gonna use it, like, and then we don't think that we're a software company. We want to basically use this. There are various reasons, right? Some other people say we're not at this stage. Our program is like paused and all this and that. There are some platform related stuff which we had last year where basically we didn't have the feature last year. Like, oh, we were expecting to actually write up the CMC, like the manufacturing part, but we didn't have manufacturing, and that's why but we always told them, and this is the relationship where we part our ways for the customer for that stage. We're not parting away forever. It's basically saying, okay, let's revisit in 6 months because we're going to be in a different situation and you are going to be in a different situation, and let's talk again. And you will see a better, like, understanding of the landscape. You will basically have some potential states of other potential other ways to solve your problems. And then we'll get together again. So I think that's the way that we do. And also people are more and more realizing that AI is here to stay, right? Early on, like 2 years ago, there's,
Oh,
oh, there's
indeed.
another hype cycle. We're going to pass through it and we're going to realize it's not. But no, I mean, it's now embedded. We're
Right.
showing a real value that's created out there, and it's going to be here to stay.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, indeed. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. Like your very position, right? Chief AI officer. Like, what was that 5 years ago?
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
existing, like now it's key in so
Right.
many companies. Yeah, 100%. And so how do you employ maintaining like compliance with all of the revolving regulations that are within your industry and like the associated ones that you're, serving alongside and with,
Yeah.
et cetera? Like how do you maintain that compliance around all of those
So
regulatory issues?
there's some standard compliance certifications we're having, like we have them, like SOC 2 and some other. The others are mostly like specific questionnaires that basically our customer sends us and we basically check them off. Our CTO, Levi, is basically spending
Hmm.
his time to make sure that now we have a little bit faster responding time on it because it's really tedious basically to answer all these specific questions and make sure that everything is there. But we're aware we were aware from the beginning, and we wanted this to be actually coming from our customers to actually identify whether if we're missing anything before oversolving everything. Because at the startup stage,
Hmm.
that like you need to really identify what's bottleneck, what's the limiting factor, rate limiting factor. That was never our rate limiting factor because it didn't come from our clients or the clients. We also thought that people, I mean, the data that we're working with is very sensitive data, right? We also thought that all the
Oh yeah.
customers are going to require on-prem solutions where they will want us to basically be in their cloud system, in a airtight system. And then we said, because it's also like not really easy to maintain all the like on-prem solutions with all the customers at the same time, with different versioning and all this. But we said, okay, let's not
Sure.
oversolve it. Let's wait for the customers constantly asking the same thing. Turns out they're not asking
Mm.
constantly on this problem because we have a lot of clients and we're not providing on-prem solution right now, right? The only thing is that we want to make sure that everything we do is very secure in our cloud, in our system, and the third-party communications are very like airtight. We have all the policies and agreements with all the third-party companies that we're using. So this was sufficient. This is sufficient so far.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, it's really key. Of course, you guys have had to deal with the compliance and regulatory issues from your company's inception, and it's just so interesting to think about how dynamic the AI is making everything and has that, I would say, the added level of clarity that's needed because of how AI can go into these, I'll call them
Mhm,
tangents or something, right? And so to make sure to validate the data, right? To strip out the bias and the hallucinations and all that sort of stuff, but to make it especially more relevant when dealing with your guys' complex business structure and services that
mhm,
you guys do. Yeah. And what about internally? How, just as a company, have you
mhm.
integrated AI into your own
Yeah, I
internal
mean, that's
workings?
something we're definitely aware because everybody in our company is building an AI solution and they are basically, our perceptions are open for any third party solution that solves our problem. Because we know that, I mean, you don't want to reinvent the
Yeah,
wheel and try to do, but so far, there are few applications that actually is good enough for us to solve, like for us to use. Some of them are development tools which basically we use in our code bases. Also, we also need to make sure that everything is compliant with our customers, like security requirements, right? That's another part. But like, for example, for
sure.
reaching out to potential customers, we built our own like sales representative, AI sales rep internally to find out that
Okay. Yeah, like
AI,
an AI
exactly, AI
SDR.
SDR. We built our own AI solution for creating these prompts, the templates, AI templates from examples. So it's a reverse engineering, right? Like instead of giving the prompt and getting out the document, we're basically giving out the ideal document and getting out the prompt. So that's basically, we have a solution for it, which actually spit out a lot of interesting problems to be solved because you need to know and understand the like right level of abstraction so that you don't put exactly the things that's found in the examples, which is kind of like opening up a completely new way of solving problems. So yeah, so we have
Hmm.
a team called now like Weave Research. Like the name is research, but what we do is we basically build solutions internally, provide tools, as well as like work with our external like collaborations with FDA, with like pharma firms to find like to basically
Hmm.
show a proof of concept And once we get the agreement with them, and we basically ship to the production along with them as design partners. So
Hmm. Would you say that there's any manual processes that still need addressing in your guys' company that, you wish could
for
be
sure, there
automated?
will be. And also, as a growing company, our procedures and way of operations is also now like stabilizing a little bit more, because in the early stage startup is very different
Sure.
than like post series A, which is going to be different than post series B. So as we grow, we will definitely need some operational excellence, like the acceleration on certain operations. And I'm the person who's going to be like looking out and trying to figure out how we can actually incorporate these solutions into our platforms. So yeah, we will
Hmm.
definitely, but I can't name it right. I have some ideas, but I don't want to like name it right now. So that, yeah, will be.
Sure. Sure. Are you able to share any cases where the AI implementation led to challenges or setbacks and maybe speak to lessons
Hmm.
learned around it?
I mean, there were some cases where we built a solution, but that we can't use it with real customer documents because they're sensitive. And the solution that we built was basically utilizing some third-party tools. That was one of the challenges. The other one, I would say, okay, here's another thing, interesting one. And I think this is very common. This is something emerging. I am feeling it, like from my experience and also from my
Okay.
friends and colleagues. They're all experiencing the same thing: AI testing.
Is this being experienced by people both in
Yes,
your
yes,
industry and
yes. It's
outside? Is
generative.
that what you're saying? Yes. Okay. So kind
Exactly.
of universally, truly. Okay.
It's
And
AI
what is it?
testing. The AI models right now are not reliable, not robust. Like what you want for a high quality product to
Yeah.
be actually extremely reliable and robust, especially like products like us. Right? But how are you going to tell? When you
Right.
show it, I mean, it's not. I've thought about this a lot. It seems like it's an easy problem, but it's not. When you basically build a solution, and many people are building these like little solutions and proof of concepts and showing you it works, nice, but is it going to work? Like when you try 100 different variations, is it still going to hold up? Right? How many
Right.
times is it going to fall down? And what's the
Right.
acceptance
Right.
criteria? Are you okay with the 80% of like working and 20% of failing? Oh, especially certain scenarios have to
Yeah.
go up to the 99%. And what determines that like 99% versus 95%? What are the parameters? Are there any frameworks that we can easily like use and test all these things? And testing is not really, I mean, if you're working on a chatbot, sure, there could be some generic like testing schemes and frames. But if you're using a very novel,
Yeah.
innovative AI architectures, which we are, like we're not basically doing a simple wrapper or a chatbot. It's very interesting, like way of
Right.
actually restructuring. There's no like generic solution that actually helps us, or at least I don't know. And I've talked
Yeah.
to many of these providers and companies, like startups that are coming out that we are the ones who are going to actually test your entire AI system. No, I mean, plus we can't send like real actual documents that we have from our clients to you. We can't. Yeah.
To
Yeah.
actually test
So
it. Yeah.
that's a problem. That's an open problem. And I think AI testing is going to be a thing in the future. It's right now it's important, but I think
Hmm.
it's going to be
Hmm.
labeled
Yeah.
as, oh, I'm an AI tester, or like it's going to be a profession potentially.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I definitely see a space for it. Not only, yeah, well, when I say that, I guess that also just
Yes. Yeah.
implies the need for it, right? Like the absolute need for all of it to just, yeah, again, maintain that data security and that the things that are going through are, they have like the true meaning, the value
Hmm.
is really there. And,
And
yeah,
add on
that's an
top of it
interesting, I could
as,
definitely see a
yeah,
tester's role is
as
so
like
important.
you need to add your business rules on top of it. Like there are some general like things that you can embed into your system, but also there are specific rules that each businesses, like operations might require. And how are you going to integrate those like specific rules? For example, if I use LLM to check out all these rules, like it seems like, okay, here's a straightforward solution. I'm going to provide all these rules. I'm going to put an LLM and ask LLM to see if those rules are like check, validate, passed, right? One. But
Sure.
how am I going to make sure that this works reliably? If it misses one or two, right? So this is not a solution. This is not we need some different approach to actually solve this problem.
Yeah. Yeah. We could
Yeah,
definitely go down that wormhole a long way of like what would be effective and why. And yeah, there's so many different use cases that could use that sort of a position, but then each time it's going to be the unique analysis for actually having it be affecting
yeah,
that 20%
yeah.
gap that you were talking about.
Especially
Yeah.
like if the
Yeah.
application is domain heavy, domain specific. Let's say like we are domain heavy, domain specific, like drug
Yeah.
development discovery. Like, as a
Yeah.
layman, like if I'm a layman, if I'm reading a document that's written in like let's say for drug development, like regulatory, you say, oh, it's perfectly fine. Nothing is wrong with it. But when an expert reads it, they say, oh, this is depressing. It's not, nothing is correct here. Right? There are
Right.
domains like this. And
Right.
LLMs are also not really
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
diligent into because they don't have the big picture. They don't have the spreadsheet expertise that's embedded. There are some statistical coverage
Right.
knowledge that basically checks out, but it's not there yet. And it's not only the medical and drug discovery. There's also legal. There's also finance. There's lots of verticals that
Oh,
requires
yeah.
that very specific domain terminology understanding. So that is an actual
Yeah.
like open problem right now.
It is indeed. And the thought of, the agentic AI, right, where we've got, say, just you or me across our life, next year, we may have a couple personal agents working on our behalf for whatever, and same thing in our business, right? And so we're each managing these various AIs. And then the thought being like up leveling that to where we're managing one agent who is
Mhm.
managing each of them, right? But then, yeah, all the time having that reality check of like accuracy and making sure that it's not just being built off of some tangent again. And yeah, I think that the testing to improve
Yeah.
that gap is just it's so key like to have the eyes on that to maintain. I guess it's like QC
Yeah,
QA
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
stuff,
And that
really, right?
requires neurosymbolic approach, not just neural networks. You still need to have like symbolic
Right.
representation of what's happening and perform symbolic manipulation, which gives you 100% accuracy on these applied logic. And you need to integrate with them. We have some like work, which hopefully going to be published soon internally and potential, it could be a potential for many, many other applications. We're going to showcase our domain, but potentially other domains can also like transfer this information. It's no problem. Yeah, we're working on it.
And how are you measuring success? Like, what sort of KPIs are important to you guys to determine that your AI initiatives are delivering good
And then
results?
internally or there's company wide.
Yeah, and internally, like, what are you doing to measure your
I mean, I
your
think
successes?
it has to be reflected in the company-wide goals, like whether we're basically aligned on moving the company to the next stage. One of the things that we are visioning with this initiative that finds solutions that are unsolved problems is basically how many of these algorithms or solutions are shipped into the product and actually used, right? That's basically, and how many
Uh
of
huh. Uh huh.
partnerships that are basically created with these new initiatives, new solutions. These are all, I mean, there are a couple of other ones that we are basically listing. And for example, there's another aspect of basically showing that you can trust us on AI because we know what we do, right? And how do you show that? I'll publish in peer-reviewed journals and conferences and publish some full talk, like full leadership articles. That's another like measure, like success measure for this. Like we need to produce high quality novel solutions and then show them to the people out there to basically establish that we know what we do, and basically that will create a trust equity in our product.
Well, sounds like you've got an incredible journey
It's
that you guys
exciting.
have been on
Yeah.
and going on so far. Yeah. You mentioned that your goals in your business is like perhaps doubling, right, your team size and tripling your revenue, like over the next 12 months. And so hypothetically, if you had the magic wand to fix one thing or something in your business right now that may be holding you back towards getting there or at least
Hmm.
slowing your progress, what would you say that
Hire
would be?
sales representatives, like account executives, customer success. That's our bottleneck. Our product actually now is like way ahead of what we are known for so far. So we want to make sure that everybody knows our product, because when they know, when they use, they're going to decide by their own. And now we need people who can facilitate that, who can scale up. So I think that's
Yeah.
our bottleneck currently.
Yeah. And that's kind of two roles we're talking about, right? Like sales and then also customer
Customer
service
success, sales, and marketing. I would say that maybe three.
and marketing. Yeah. Yeah. You really
Yeah.
want to get the
Yeah.
word out more,
Yes.
right? Get the
I mean, that
attention.
doesn't mean that we
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah. Cause
Yeah.
you've definitely got
Yeah.
some magic
But that
sauce
doesn't mean
going
that we
on.
stop building. I mean, we're of course we're building. That's just not the
No,
bottleneck.
of course not.
Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Got it. And so looking ahead, what would you say the emerging trends in AI are that you think are going to have the most significant impact in your business growth over the next 3 years? And I used to ask similar questions as this and be like, in 5 years, but now I'm like, maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, do you see as being like
Yeah.
emerging trends?
I mean, I'm saying there's companies, especially LLM providers, right? They're slowly
Uh-huh.
pivoting into becoming a product and solution company rather than a technology provider. Like meaning that because the technological gap is like diminishing, like after GPT-5 announcement, for example, we see like the
Yeah,
improvement is incremental. It's not a breakthrough. It's not like we were
true.
yeah, I mean,
I
we're
agree.
spoiled by
Yeah.
OpenAI over the like previous announcements. So, oh, this is completely new breakthrough. This is a breakthrough. In GPT-5, we've waited for so long, and then now it's just a little bit like better in these benchmarks.
It's right.
And yeah,
It's
that's
true.
underwhelming. And I was expecting that because I'm also seeing that these companies are now trying to differentiate themselves in terms of how they wrap up their technology solution. Like, for example, focusing on coding agents. That we were seeing all these like companies, Anthropic,
Mhm.
opening, they're building their own coding agents and they're training these coding. There's like shopping, like ChatGPT added shopping and all this. So, which means I'm expecting these like solutions are going to be more and more user friendly and
Mhm.
becoming more, let's say, easier to integrate. For example, getting rid of all complexities from like which model I should choose from the ChatGPT to work. Well, we're going to choose for you. Don't worry about it.
Right.
And that's a simplicity. That's basically user
Right.
experience improvement. For us, what does that mean? Well, like for developer solutions, I was expecting to token window size to go higher and higher, and it went. So it's now set structurally high for us. I don't see any extra value to make it like doubling or tripling the token window size, right? But on the other hand, making it cheaper and faster is definitely like going to improve our user experience. You don't have to wait for some simple tasks to actually complete in a higher accuracy for us. So yeah, I think those are, but at the same time, if we talk about the breakthrough, which could really help us,
Yeah.
is a domain specific
Yeah.
reasoning models that should come, right? What do I mean by that? Like right
Mm,
now, everybody is
mm.
focusing on trying to build an AGI, which basically does everything by focusing on the reasoning aspect.
Right. You're talking about it being much
Exactly.
more
Why not? I
specific.
think it could be easier to actually
Yeah.
build. And why am I saying, yeah, well, we built something which is domain specific, but it is a reasoning model and it does much better job than any like reasoning model out there, basically. And if you can abstract this template text, right, the domain specificity, and then put this as a service, as a, let's say I'm an OpenAI or Claude, like Anthropy. If I may create this, maybe a configuration file or maybe learning over time by user interactions, that could be a real breakthrough potentially, which would also include some neurosymbolic understanding. Why? Because you need to understand local terminology, like specific company-wise terminology. You need to understand
Sure. Of
everything,
course.
and you need to be able to operate on these what we call like context-free grammar to create these like abstract
Yep.
syntax trees and operate them. So that's why I think if we see this type of like neurosymbolic integration, that could be a next breakthrough for us, for our domain,
Mm,
which requires a lot of like domain specificity.
mm, Indeed. Yep. Fantastic. And what would you say as we start to wind down here a little bit? What advice would you offer businesses that are hesitant about adopting AI in whatever regards, meaning like maybe they're just considering it or maybe they're considering it for a deep use case, specifically, but they're still really kind of more on the dip the toe in as opposed to fully embracing it, which it sounds like you guys have.
I mean, it's always good to be cautious, right? Like you don't want to um, get into something that's not going to be around next year, or that's a risk. Like there's
Right.
always some commitment. Even if it's free, you have to spend your time to learn new things, to change your behaviors and all those things. The first question is it worth? Like, what are they claiming? And let's see if their claiming is true. Would it worth my time so that I can actually learn this and incorporate in my like daily workflow? Uh, and if the answer is yes, then um, I think people needs to be more and more engaged because it is here to stay. Like AI is here to stay, and this is going to be the future. And if you don't want to be irrelevant in the
100%.
future, if you want to be relevant in the future, you have to get it now. We have to basically touch and work and like try to learn, like spend your commitment time to learn these new tools by incorporating early on with like, of course, like control your risk, right? You don't have to completely change everything and make
Yep.
basically going to multiple steps, like maybe have a pilot to work with it. And then once you're there, then you can actually also have a much better understanding where the skill is going. And in the future, you wouldn't be irrelevant. You would be actually the person to be consulted in your domain, in your area.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you're like the go-to. Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, this has been a wealth of knowledge for me rather, learning from you. I really appreciate your time. I'm sure that the people that are watching today would love to learn more about you guys as well. So what's a good website? And also if you care to share, where you are on LinkedIn or any personal stuff about way to reach out to you
Yeah.
directly, feel free to do so. But certainly if
Yeah.
you want to share
Our
about
website
Weave,
is weave.bio. Simple. Yeah.
Weave.
And LinkedIn, same, like you can search for it. And my profile is my name and last name, first name, last name. Yeah. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll happy to help if you need any help or question answered.
Love it. All right. Thanks again.
Thank
Really
you, Mark.
appreciate your time.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Very good. Okay, so we can cut it here, but yeah, that was fantastic, man. I really did learn a ton.
Thanks.
It's so I'm like envious of the position that you're in as far as where you're going with. It really sounds like on the
Yeah,
forefront there
yeah,
for
yeah.
your
It's exciting.
industry.
I mean, I don't want to actually disclose there, but we're going to announce it soon. But we closed the Series A with a very nice round and going off from here. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, congrats. Nice. Nice. Well, and when you mentioned that the goal of like expanding your team, right? Doubling so that you could at least
Hmm.
triple your rev, between the sales, the marketing, and then also the customer service stuff, that just made me think about a lot of potential collaborations that I might be able to help you with. We certainly have, some of those. Like that's exactly what we do. We just need some tailorization as far as exactly
Hmm.
what you'd be looking for. And so, if you're up to further discussions about what that could look like, I'd love to keep
Yeah,
the
yeah. I
conversation
mean,
going.
I'm not the like main person in the company who actually is responsible for hiring recruitment. So we recently have a person to basically organize and operate this, Sarah Miller, and you might want to like reach out to her.
Sarah Miller. Okay. Yeah.
She's
Is
on
she on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn?
If you look at like Weave and then people, you'll
Yeah.
see her in the list.
Right, she's responsible for the hiring. Okay, very good. And then perhaps even beyond the hiring the human element, but maybe as the forefront of where we could employ AI in assistance with the marketing and the sales, and then also behind the scenes, like with the customer service stuff. Like for instance, again, she might be more interested in this than you, but as I was speaking to another developer of AI solutions. One of his products is essentially goes into like you're familiar with a personality
Yeah.
disc studies. So there's just different ways to like measure what type of
Hmm.
personality someone's has. Someone may be more
Hmm.
analytical, someone maybe more emotional of this sort. And they've put together something that's akin to the disc study,
Hmm.
but much deeper, and it's AI based, and it's twofold. It's one, so that companies are maintaining their internal employees at a better level, so there's less employee churn, but then they're also employing it during the hiring process as a tool to measure and bring in the best candidates for their companies. So maybe that would be
Yeah,
something that
yeah,
she would
it
be
sounds
interested in.
interesting. I don't know what she's gonna respond, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Very good. Well, I
All
appreciate your
right.
time immensely. I love the work that you're doing. And yeah, let's keep the
All
conversation
right.
going. I'll
Thanks,
look up
Mark.
Sarah.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Very good. Take care. Bye bye.